Okay. I'm going to introduce Esther to you in a moment. It's almost a year we've been working together, and you have coalesced, I think, the food additive or the food additive addiction field. We called it a cutting edge conference. And I think it truly was. I've known very little about what I learned today. I learned a whole lot. I've always believed in the addiction to food and have worked with clients on it. But today, I think it just really expanded our knowledge. And I want to thank you for being a pioneer in tying this together. But let me introduce you to some who might have missed you in the morning. So EstherHG Goodman's daughter has a Master of Science as director of the INFACT program in Iceland. She has a master's degree in managing health services, as well as being certified by the European as a food addiction professional, addiction counselor, clinical supervisor, as well as ACORN addiction professional. She developed the first known treatment program model for food addiction recovery, which is pretty significant, and has taught and worked with students and clients from around the world for over 15 years. I was blown away today when I saw the spread of the registrants. And just let me add one thing. We will be sending out your recertification, 6 hours of attendance certs during next week. You'll get them via emails from people. So she's the founder and director of the International School Food Addiction Counseling and Treatment, better known as INFACT, and the founder and director of the MFN Center, an Icelandic-based treatment center for sugar, food abuse, and dependence, as well as serving as executive director and vice chair of the Food Addiction Institute. I will turn it over to you. And again, my sincere thanks. You have certainly made the board look good. Thank you. We're really impressed with the quality of this presentation. So, and I can't think of anybody more important to do the last stream. So you're on, Esther.
So thank you, Rich. Thank you very much.
I'm bouncing around over here.
No, okay. That's okay. And okay, so you just mute and go off video and we're all good. So I think everybody, I'm just gonna ask Phil to mute. I think Phil is not muted. If you could mute Phil. Oh, there you go. Okay, so, well, I'm the last person. This has been a marathon. I wish you'd have called this a marathon conference for sure. And I don't know why Phil is there on number one and I'm not. Probably because I'm a host. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my PowerPoints up and set it up here. And I'm just going to start with what I'm going to talk about. So what my agenda, having to come after all of those incredible lectures here today, I felt a little intimidated, I must admit, and specifically coming at, well, just anybody here, which has done such a beautiful job. Now, what I want to say is more maybe, I'm not going to go back into any of the aspects that we've talked about today with the lectures here. What I'm going to talk about is how we basically use the knowledge and the wisdom that has been gathered and prepare for the future. And so this is why I got this beautiful, beautiful picture of a new dawning. And I must tell you that like probably about 6 years ago, I was a speaker at a addiction conference here in Iceland, and we had the, most big names in the addiction field there as speakers as well. So I was very honored. One of which was Jonathan Goldman, former chair of the ASM, American Society of Addiction Medicine. And I got a chance to talk to him and ask him about food addiction, what he thought of it. And what he said was similar to what Dr. Lustig has been saying is that, you're just ahead of your time. It's probably at least 10 years until people will even want this knowledge. But what I suggest you to do is gather the information and the experience and the knowledge and be ready when the interest is turned on. And I really took this to heart. Actually, me and my colleagues that have been supporting me through the MFACT school had just started and initiated the MFACT school at that point. And so it had begun. And my agenda is basically to keep that work going while I can, and then hopefully bring that knowledge to the people that are going to be walking in our shoes as we go. So here is, so here is a disclosure. You heard, I am the founder and director of INFACT, an international school for food addiction counseling and treatment, executive director and vice chair of the Food Addiction Institute, and the founder and director of the MFM Center for Education and Treatment in Iceland. And this is where I am, like Guttorm, who has been hiding away in Norway and Sweden. I kind of hid away until I didn't in Iceland, and got a chance to experiment and try out things that I was learning from very early times of my learning on food addiction with Phil and Mary and some others. And I little did I know that I had developed really the first outpatient treatment for food addiction. So here we go. This is a lecture on now that we know food addiction is real. And I think we have a pretty good case after listening to the people here today. And whether we call it food additives addiction or what we end up with doing, it is food that in the way that we eat it, that is causing addiction. So it is substance use disorder that we're dealing with. And the science and the work of the scientists and us in the field will develop a way of getting that more defined, I'm sure. So this is a little bit of an overview of methods and experiences of the pioneers in the field of treatment for food addiction and how we can use this knowledge for the future. So here's a few things that I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about the pioneers. I'm going to just mention the 12-step fellowships for food addiction, treatment outcomes, some on hospital-based treatment, development, breakthroughs, the Food Addiction Institute, and then I forgot to write it down here. I will end on describing what INFACT is about, which is a basic training to teach professionals to work with food addiction specifically. So who are the pioneers? Well, you've heard the names of the Glen Bay Hospital, the Turning Point. I forgot to put in there the Naples. Phil and Mary at Acorn Intensives, now it's called Shift Recovery. Kay Shepherd program for food addiction. Marty Lerner at Milestone in Recovery. Teresa Wright, a dietitian at Renaissance Nutrition Center. Bitten Jonsson, sugar assessments and functional medicine in Sweden. Shades of Hope in Texas, and Catherine, retired, written books and worked, was the one that published the first book describing the brain chemistry. Now, Joan Ifland with her refined food addiction. And I realized, I'm sorry, Vera, that I had forgot to put your name there, and because you are truly one of the pioneers, I will put you in there. And from Toronto, and then Esther Helka at the MFM Outpatient Center. And of course, many more have been out there doing the work. What happened as we got together, like in the Food Addiction Institute, we got to know each other. Before, we were just all by our lonesome in different parts of the world, mostly in the States and some in Canada, and a few over in Europe as well. So I'm not going to go deeply into the history of the 12-step programs. They started the first one in 1960, and that was the Overeaters Anonymous. And they have actually divided, and there must be a reason for that. Must be a reason for it. So we have all of these different fellowships that do different things, but all of these are putting the 12-step. They're all a 12-step program for recovery, and they talk about the food in one way or the other. And most of those have a specific food suggestions. Dignity of choice in OA has different ways of dealing with the overeating, as they say it is. And then there are others like Food Addicts Anonymous that talk about the food addiction. Now, so the Gray Sheet, as Phil said, was the first food plan developed for food addicts, and it is still in full force under the name of the Gray Sheeters Anonymous Fellowship, and then we have Overcomers Outreach, Overeaters Anonymous How, Overeaters Anonymous 90-day meetings, and recovery from a food addiction. So treatment outcomes. I encourage. We did at MFM. We did research, or we did a survey, a questionnaire for our clients. We sent it out to more than 2,000 of our clients at the time, and we got a real good turnout. I think it was about 700 that responded, and about 300, more than 300 that partook in the survey. And we got really good treatment results out of that. I'm just going to talk about it, and then I will talk about the others. What was most striking was that in the first year, people were, like 70 to 80% of the people in the treatment of MFM treatment, which is an outpatient treatment with a 1-month detoxification period, and then aftercare program up to a year or two, depending on the client, with private sessions and group work. So what we did get was like 70 to 80% staying abstinent in the first year, losing on the average about 30 kilos, which is about 60, 70 pounds. And after 1 to 5 years, there was, it went down to 30%. Long timers, 30%. What we asked our clients was there a correlation between being in 12-step recovery work and or not? And the ones that had a long-term abstinence, as it turned out, the 30%, were almost all 12-step people that were using the support and the program of the 12 steps. So this was very similar to what Phil and Mary did and got as a result from the ACORN questionnaire. And actually we used that as a base for us, and even though we kind of expanded on our research here in Iceland. And when I showed the research to the Icelandic Treatment Center for Alcohol and Drugs, it's the same outcome. And they do have a detox center for 7 to 10 days. They have a month inpatient treatment and up to 3-year aftercare outpatient treatment. And which is all paid for, and people can just come and enter, and it is a superb treatment for sure. So I would say that we're showing good results. I remember Bitten Jonsson from Sweden, who had an inpatient treatment in Sweden for a while, and she had 70% success rate with her clients after inpatient treatment. So it is quite obvious to me and my colleagues that when we have treatment that really is taking into considering the biochemical part of the disease, the detoxification stage, an abstinence-based program, and then attending to the psychological part of the disease with aftercare programs, extensive support, and work on the personality change needed for long-term recovery. This is the result we can get. Now, I've worked quite a bit with the obesity people, professionals here in Iceland for a long time. And the results, the best results, year after year after year from obesity treatments was 5%. 5%. And so we're showing, I think, considerably better results. So this is a little more about the treatment outcomes. I got a quote from the book that Phil Verdell is going to be hopefully issuing after a couple of months. It will be, I hope, I'll push him to get it done because we need it. It may not be the strictest scientific research-based book, but it is what we have. And it can be used as a base, in my opinion. And it gives an insight into the work that the pioneers have given to the world. So in each of, I'm going to read this, each of 7 different world surveys of Overeaters Anonymous, OA, and Food Addicts in Recovery Anonymous, FA, the average weight loss for non-new members was 45 to 50 pounds. A significant number of anorexics and bulimics who gained weight were included in the average. And I guess this is for a year. So there is rigorous outcome research for 3 professional food addiction treatment programs. One is the 6 to 8 week residential program at the psychiatric hospital. And I guess we're talking about the Glen Bay Hospital at this point. Now, a week-long residential program held at people's homes, which is the Acorn Intensives, and then the 12-week to 2 years of aftercare program at an outpatient program at a recovery center, that is the MFM treatment center. Abstinence from addictive substances is a much higher standard than weight loss, and it is better to compare food addiction treatment with alcohol and drug addiction treatment. Again, there is not strict comparability, but it is fair to say that these 3 initial studies of professional food addiction treatment demonstrate multi-year outcome results similar to the best alcohol and drug rehabs. Now, quotes from the working draft of Phil Riddell, Outcome Research on Food Addiction Treatment, Self-Help, 12-Step, and Professional. Be on the lookout for the book. And those that sign up for the Food Addiction Institute newsletter will get information, as well as the ones that are on the Impact School newsletter as well. Now, a little more on the hospital-based treatment. As you heard Phil say, there's not really any hospital-based treatment for people with food addiction in the world today. There is some for obesity, but they do not honor the, or I haven't heard of any that honor treatment with food as a substance use disorder. This, which is so sad, because when this was happening in 1980s to 90s, there was a tremendous success in the inpatient treatment with the halfway house and aftercare programs that were happening at that point. It was amazing. And it compares to Bittens in Sweden. It compares to Glen Bay and other inpatient treatment hospitals that were operational at the time. For some reason, the science didn't feel that there was sufficient science, and it wasn't. That is the truth. So instead of looking into it, they decided to stop this treatment. And you know, the rest is history. We peak every year, obesity and deaths because of overeating and addiction related consequences of eating. Now, here we talk about, here are the hospitals. It was the Rader Institute that really had a huge input into food addiction at the time. Glen Bay Hospital's Naples Research and Counseling Center, later the Willow. Heritage Hospital's Turning Point of Tampa, which is still there. Milestones in Recovery, and now Shades of Hope. Shades of Hope is a treatment center. Can't remember the name of the lady, which is close to Dallas, Texas. I hope they're still operational. So we're going to get some more info on this in Phil's book. Now, when they stopped, quite a few people like Kay Shepherd and Catherine, Judy Hollis, Acorn, CORE, Recovery Associates, and Shades of Hope began setting up detox and treatment in a workshop format. And that's kind of where we've pretty much been for the past, now let's see, 30 years. And of course, Milestone in Recovery is one of those, that really, in my opinion, do a fantastic job of interdisciplinary team around their clients and have an inpatient, outpatient abilities. So going into major developments in the field. Now, I think there is a major development with the formation of the Food Addiction Institute, because it calls for food addiction professional training program, and it calls out to professionals. It kind of gathered us together, and we got to know each other. And as we did, we got to start working together more and more. And the Impact School is really a direct, consequence of the Food Addiction Institute. Everybody in the Impact School, except now we've recruited Dr. Lustig and Dr. Avina, and Asli Gearhart is going to join us next winter, I believe, after she's been on maternity leave. We're people from the board of the Food Addiction Institute and are in close relationships there. Now, also coming from that was the ACORN Now Shift Food Addiction Professional Training Program, which Phil Riddell initiated. It was an experimental treatment learning for professionals, or for just anybody getting abstinent, basically. And it was built on the model of the ACORN model of detoxification and the kind of work that they did and still do for helping people to get into residential place where they're going to be helped to get detoxed. And there's a big story about behind that, how that came to be, and I'm going to leave that to Phil for a later date. Now, this, if this had not been already established, I don't know where I would be in the world. I was actually at this point when they just started it, maybe a year or two after they started the training. I was out looking for some kind of a training that I could learn to help clients. I'd already started my treatment program, and not having my background as an addiction counselor and professional and supervisor, I really realized that was not enough for me, because even if I was a recovering food addict, I needed more learning. And I remember the day still. I don't know what date it is. I can't remember that. When I called Phil and Mary, and they were just on the road somewhere close to Chicago, and they told me about the training and invited me to come, and I did. And I did the 3-year training, and we've become since cooperates, and they've come to Iceland on multiple occasions, and I've come to their place also. And so it was something incredibly useful for me and others that were starting off in the field. We got education and understanding, and most of all, we got to be in a treatment setting, and we got to experience what it is like to work with people going through detoxification. And that is no easy thing to do. And I tell you the truth, for the first intensives, I was scared. I was scared because the intensity of the emotions that come up as the detoxification started happening was immense in some cases. And it is, in my experience, very delicate issue, but to have people be in a safe place where they can go through the withdrawals and the emotional withdrawals, particularly with support, very, very necessary. And so I did learn a lot from them, and I started using most and much of that as well in my food addiction treatment in Iceland. So in 2009, I'm not going to talk about everything that happened, but just a few. The Yale scale. It was somewhat done in cooperation with Acorn and Bill Verdell, I believe, even though it was Brownell and Gerhardt that really issued it. And it was a stepping stone. And now it's actually been updated to 2.1, and we have one for children. And just want to tell you that we're going to be, at the Impact School, we have issued a committee to work on treatment methods for children and teens and their families. And we're going to be using the children Yale scale for sure there. Now, so that was a stepping stone for sure. And now, outcome research, this is, I've talked about this, so I'm not going to dwell on this one. More understanding started coming out from different places, and one of which is CASA, and which is in 2016. They actually understanding and addressing food addiction, a scientific approach to policy, practice, and research, published by the National Center of Addiction and Substance Abuse, CASA. So that was a stepping stone for sure for us to get that. Now, the most recent study, I just wanted to mention this one, of treatment outcomes for alcoholism by Kelly et al., found that the 12-step facilitated treatment is the most effective over the long term. And this is the Cochrane, research, and his was issued a little over a year ago. And I think it is quite substantial for us working in the field, and having had really having had the experience of using the 12-step approach, and suggesting this is a kind of a support for our clients that seem to be needed for most. So getting this kind of research issues from Harvard and whatnot is a great stepping stone, a development in the field for us. Now, in 2011, and then again, maybe a couple of years ago, they reissued from the American Society of Addictive Medicine, ASAM, issued new scientific evidence-based definition of addiction, including food addiction as a brain disease. So this was really a big step for people with food addiction, that there was an acceptance. They were still more on the side of food addiction being a behavioral addiction, coming from the eating disorders, but still it was set up as a brain disease. So we were able to build on that for sure. And then in 2013, the American Psychiatric Association finds that many eating disorders also have the characteristics of food as a substance use disorder. And I do think this is very important as well, important information. There was actually a sentence in DSM-5 which demonstrates this. So the little toe is in. So 2014, first International Conference on Food Addiction Treatment, sponsored by University of Massachusetts School of Medicine and the Food Addiction Institute. We had 2 years of doing this, and it was incredible experience for us at the Food Addiction Institute to get exposed to the Medical and Psychological Society at that point. What we did at the Food Addiction Institute, we issued a pamphlet for professionals for understanding and supporting their clients on screening and assessing somewhat. Now then we have the 2016 National Center of Addiction and Substance Abuse, it's a CASA, supposed to be, issues white paper recommending addiction model treatment. And I talked about this one a little before. Now I'm gonna be, say that this is another breakthrough. 2017, a group of 16 students started the Impact International School for Food Addiction Counseling and Treatment. And we initiated its first program for food addiction counseling and treatment, which had a certification from the European Certification Board as food addiction counselor. Now it has evolved to food addiction professionals. And the reason we're doing this today is the recent cooperation with the Addiction Professional Certification Board, national US-based certification board. And they will be issuing an add-on for students of Impact, I add on certificate as food addiction professional. And so that was a huge stepping stone for us, and a great honor. And this was worked at with the Impact School, of course, and the Food Addiction Institute, Dave Evans, who actually introduced all of us, and we got to this place, which is happening today. A year ago, it all began. So miracles do happen still. So more and more validation for education on the subject. Now, the Food Addiction Institute is very close to my heart. As you may have heard, I've served for a couple of, 1.5 years now as an executive director and a vice chair of the Institute. I've been there since probably 2006 or 2007. And been on the board for all that time, and I've seen it grow. And a lot of the Impact students have become board members, which is so dear to my heart, to see the students come into themselves and become another level of pioneers in the field of food addiction treatment. Now, the Institute was founded by Phil Verdell, and and it, as I said before, become a venue for professionals and the suffering food addict for information, resources, and more. We've just redone our website. Please go to our website, foodaddictioninstitute.org. Sign for our newsletter, and we're advocating for members at this point. Selling the recordings from this conference as a support for the institute. We need to fund a lot of things that we're issuing and doing. Now, this I'm just mentioning here again, issuing the cooperation with UMass. And we're working on funding for the cause. There's been a work in process for that. But the big thing here is this year is that we're issuing proposals for the American Psychiatric Association for the DSM. And we've actually sent in an application to the World Health Organization for the ICD for food to be accepted as a substance use disorder. And we will hopefully be sending in the proposal for the DSM a bit later in this year. It's being worked on at this point. The science of it is being worked on. And so those are big, giant steps. And why are we doing this? And it is because, you know, our profession cannot really be initiated until we get the approval of this being a disease. Once that happens, and you know, really all the science should be there, but we don't know if it is enough for the people that are working or, you know, getting the application. So we'll just have to see and be patient and work with them to get to that place. It may take time, but we've had time and we'll continue to have time to get there. Very important issue. Now, and again, working along with IMPACT and the Addiction Professional Certification Board on acceptance to certify profession of food addiction professionals. Okay, so why treatment for food addiction? Why don't people just do diets and exercise? You know, a lot of people get lose a lot of weight with the keto. Why not just do that? And so forth. And now we know after a long period or years and years of trying to do that certain numbers of people are going to have some success. Many will have success, but then most will lose that success and end up even worse off than when they started. Now, the eat less and exercise more is, I must be somewhere scientifically unproven, at least for some. Now, different diets, counting calories, healthier eating, extensive exercise. This is all what the world is doing presently to work on the subject of craving, basically, and obesity. And as I said, people working in the professionals in the obesity field, they have maybe 5% success rate, which is basically no success. They may have success for a while, but then the same thing happens, they always lose it. So there's a missing piece, there's a missing link. And the link, in my opinion and my experience, is the addictive part. And today you've been brought into the realization of what that might be. It is twofold in my view. One is the biochemical part, we need some kind of an abstinence food plan and support with that. And that for many needs to be guided by professionals or very experienced people in the 12 steps. Some of the 12-step programs can do that as well. And once that is established, we can start working on what keeps us coming back to the food, which is what many of us, which is really what Guttorm was talking about today, and what we are for us that are working in the field. That's where we basically, that's the work. That's where we work on denial, like what Phil was talking about, dealing with the person and the personality, and and the denials, of course, not really seeing that the powerlessness of one. And so how to deal with that, there will be probably different ways, but we do have ways of dealing with it which are very clear cut, and it needs to be dealt with. If it is not dealt with, people will not get recovery. They will go on another diet, because an abstinence plan will be a diet until we work on the reality of the disease of addiction. So addiction treatment here, first abstain, and then address the psychological aspects of the disease to educate about the problem of loss of control. This is again from Phil Riddell. Identify biochemical craving, euphoric recall, believable rationalizations, and distortion of will. Provide practical ways to engage help and check out their own thinking. To stay abstinent in early recovery, some need additional support for detoxification and physical withdrawal. In my opinion and experience, most do need a lot of support for those days. And people can not just go into cold turkey in outpatient with no support. For some people, it would be detrimental because the pain and both the physical and emotional pain is just going to be too much for the person. And Mary described it so beautifully in her story. So many in addictive denial need intervention appropriate for the stage of food addiction. Those in middle, late, and final stages of addiction need support in challenging denial, even after they become abstinent. It's my experience that after a month of abstinence, my clients, they really say, well, now I got it. Now I got it. And that's the tricky part, is to keep them long enough that they understand that they haven't got it. And that's the work of the professionals in the field. Now, training programs for food addiction treatment, the ACORN Experimental Professional Training, Program Director Phil, it's not now in actuality. And I look at impact having hopefully, at least in some ways, taken over. And we've gotten Phil to be there with us, and he is one of the major teachers and lecturers for the school. Now, the Impact International School for Food Addiction Counseling and Treatment, a 7-month all online now, virtual training. I'll go into that one a little bit more. Now, then we have Bitten's Addictions in Sweden, sugar assessments. They have, she has developed the sugar mapping, which is an incredible assessment for sugar and other addictions. I urge you to take a look at that, and many have gotten training to do that kind of assessment. Now, she also teaches about functional medicine for sugar addiction. Okay, so the InFact School. I have about 5 minutes now, and before I need to stop, and I think I should be able to get through the rest of my slides. Now, in 2019, 9 experts in the field of food addiction treatment, eating disorders, and the metabolic science came together within the school, and we formed the first training. And what really helped us launch this was the European Certification Board, which the chair had really supported me in doing this and helped provide the material for me, coming from years and years of setting up training programs and treatment programs around the world. Stefan Johansson and David Powell, who is known by many in the field of addictions here in the US specifically. And so using that material, adapting it, and adding on the wisdom and the knowledge of the experts in the food addiction treatment field and the metabolic science, we've launched this, and we've been adding on to it constantly every year and hope to continually better the training as we go. Now, what happened was a new profession, food addiction. It was called counselor first, but now by suggestion of the certifying bodies, we changed it to professional. It was birthed, and we have 80 students so far. And just to tell you that next fall, I have 25 people registered already. So I think we're gonna have a big group in the fall, for sure. I'm excited of the growth that is happening in the InFact School. So now the add-on certificate I told you about from the US National Addiction Professional Certification Board. Now, why do we need these kind of certificates? It is for the client. It is for the client, so that the client will know that the people that they ask to support and help have is sufficient knowledge and ethics and background to be able to do what they offer to do. And the school really goes over and through all of that, and supports the students to understand their limitations and their abilities in the way of supporting and helping and launching treatment for food addiction. Now, the school supports abstinence-based treatment models and addiction treatment methods for food as a substance use disorder. Just to go fast forward here, we divide the training into different sections, lectures, and specific teachings from the experts. And then there is the bulk, which is the counselor workbook, clinical part with the final examination. And we have the 12 InFact criteria for food addiction treatment and more. Screening, intake, orientation, assessment, treatment planning, different counseling techniques, case management, crisis intervention, patient education, referrals, reports, and record keeping, consultation, professional growth, and relapse prevention, codependency in the family, and a big portion is ethics. Now, introducing, this has become a little more, it's growing, is introducing different treatment models. And I've been setting up the MFM program, which of course was all in Icelandic, slowly but surely getting that into English and advancing on it as we do. So I do go over that and teach people. Now the ACORN Now shift in recovery intensives with the aftercare is another type or a model. And then milestone in recovery, inpatient and outpatient model for treatment. Those are the three that we have mostly been teaching about at the school. And now the 12-step therapeutic approach for professionals, as we got Dr. Guttorm Taverud, to teach the professional approach of the 12 steps directly from the big book. And you heard him today. Exciting seminar within our seminar. Now, I'm not going to go, it takes a little too long. My time is basically off. We have on our website description of the course and knowledge criteria, what people learn, the ability criteria here, and what student will, after this course, have skills to do. It's to diagnose, set up treatment plans, define treatment methods, set up a report on client treatment, diagnose need for special trauma consultation, among many other things. And so we're hoping that all of this that we're doing, and even though I am kind of initiating and keeping things and having the endurance of keeping things happening, it is a joint effort. And I love it when Dr. Vera Tarman says, the power is ours. When it is together, when there is a we have more power than on our own. And that is what I have learned in my own recovery, and not the least in the work with those amazing, amazing professionals that we've seen some of here today. And the students coming up and starting to advance and shine as well. So building on the past, preparing for the future, our aim is to gather precious experience and knowledge so it can be advanced on as the profession develops. And I see the future as being very, very bright. And thank you very, very much. And I may have, we had a time till 1:15. And so we do have a little bit of time for you to ask me questions, as well as questions on what has come up for you here today. So thank you for your patience. And let me see, question and answer, was there anything else here? Yes, there was recordings. There will be recordings. They will be sold by the Food Addiction Institute. So go to foodaddictioninstitute.org, apply for the newsletter, and you will get, you need to pay for it. I'm not sure what the price is. It's probably going to be around $100 or something like that. But you will get a 1-year membership of the Food Addiction Institute, where you get the special newsletter, and we're initiating like monthly meeting with the professionals and more. So here is somebody saying, I so wish there was something beyond OA and abstinence to effectively treat food addiction. So many are not successful with this, okay, with this model. And I just want to say a little bit on this, and I think Phil may want to say something. I have you there. And for, you know, we know that treatment does wonders for any other addictions. What I see, treatment, when it is appropriate for an individualized in a way that is needed for clients, is totally beneficial and needed, just as for any other addiction. And I think actually food addiction is a bit more complex, if anything, than many of the other addictions, because the food issue is a very complex thing, for sure. And so what I see here in Iceland, and because we have a small community, I can see the spread of people coming to treatment. And I've treated more than 3,000 people here in Iceland over the years, that they go into the 12-step programs from the treatment, the stronger for it. And the 12-step programs become stronger for it as well. So it goes both ways. The 12-step programs are so needed and suggested and for support and to work and continue and maintain, and for your spiritual advancement. The treatment is there. It's the buffer that gets you there with a professional to help you, support you as you go on the way. Okay, so Phil, did you want to say something on this?
Yeah, I think Mike Prager, who wrote Fat Boy, Thin Man, and has been on the board, has a long history of recovery. Was right. He used to be an editor in the Boston Herald, Boston paper, and he wrote an editorial, and there were all these questions that came back, and what Mike said is, when people think of alcoholism or drug addiction, they think of AA, and they think of Narcotics Anonymous, and they think of treatment. And why do people not think it's not just OA? There are 7 fellowships, and within OA, there are advanced areas. Mary talked about that she herself is in one of the movements with that is specially structured for food addiction. The bottom line for me is treatment, though. It's really, very few people know that in alcoholism, of the first 100 people, half of them had a week of hospital detoxification. Mm-hmm. And that they were surrounded in the hospital room by other people. It was like community treatment, and that in the area of drug and alcohol, I'm not sure what it's like in other countries as much, but in the United States, my experience is that about half the people in the room have been in treatment. That means they've been educated. They've been educated about the disease, they've been detoxed, and they've known how to recognize when someone's in recovery. That is not happening, has never happened for food addiction. When it did happen in the 80s and 90s, it was amazing. People that were coming back from Philadelphia and New Jersey, from Glen Bay treatment, the rooms were incredible. I remember seeing one HOW meeting with 100 sponsors at it. Well, 60 of those had been in treatment. So without treatment, I'm not sure there's a way of advancing. And I wanted to put one example up, which is, what if somebody has to have dialysis for their liver? Well, it's a big deal. They have to do that, hours at a time, a couple of times a week. Well, that's what you have to do when you've got a serious food addiction. And the issue in treatment is that you learn that you really have this disease, and you become willing because you see what the benefits are. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Phil. Absolutely agreement. So somebody was asking here if for the training, you need to be abstinent or in recovery. And no, the answer is really no. But you know, if you're going to work in the field of food addiction, you need to be in recovery. If you need to be in recovery, that is.
You know, when we had the 3-year program at Acorn, the first year was about getting abstinent.
Yes.
And you finished the first year when you were abstinent and were able to write a first step, which showed that you knew that you were powerless and what you had to do about it. And then people were teaching out of their own experience, not just out of books. That's what always has happened with drugs and alcohol. And that model is sitting here. We now have the models for the training programs and for the treatment that are now working and have been shown to have good outcomes. There's no reason except to say, we don't care about food addicts. We don't care about the half of people that are obese that are food addicted. We'll just let them keep going.
Yes.
That's the other side of it. Or we find a way in our health system and locally and with our own dollars often support treatment.
Thank you, Phil. And we're coming to the end of this. And thank you, everybody, for your chat and for your gratitude and wonderful chat that has been going on here through the whole thing. And I want to just really personally say thank you for this marathon day. And I know it must have been quite an ordeal, but I know even if I needed to do my lecture last, I was just like on edge for the whole day with excitement, hearing each panelist after the other. And I can never get enough of listening to you guys. And I've heard all of you so often before, but every time it's just a new experience. So Richard, Bao, do you want to say something as we end this?
Yes. Thank you all. It is going to be a bright day. Okay. I've done some in my private practice. I've had some insurance clients where the insurance companies have sent me people they want to keep out of the hospital. And I think that's why it's so important to get this into the DSM. But for a diagnosis they would give me in the referral was healthy living, because I guess they can't say food addiction or obesity or something like that. And we worked with the protocol, but I think it was a great day. Learned a lot. I think that the science is the sword and the shield is very important in getting this through. And it can be done, you know, and we got Dave Evans on the case, so we're in good shape, and we got you. So thank you all.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you for your work in leading this. This was wonderful.
Well, we do this together. The power is ours.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to turn the